What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So today I wanted to take a little look at a certain amount of changes that are coming in the near future in patch 6.19, and it's something that I think is very interesting because it's pretty much a first for Riot actually. And essentially what's happening is that Kog'Maw is pretty much getting un-reworked, like he's getting his rework pretty much straight up reversed. So there's a post by Riot Axes that kind of outlines pretty much everything that you can expect is going to happen, but we also have confirmation from Riot Scarzard, a little bit more, information from him, as well as just some details from the design stream that took place on Thursday evening. And before we start, I do want to give a big shout out to ProGuides.com for help with the editing on this video. They do a lot of cool content on their site, but they've got a free trial, so you can definitely just check that out and decide for yourself if you like it or not. You really don't have to take it from me at all. You can just see it for yourself. Anyway, so essentially what's going to happen with Kog'Maw, if you take a look at the Riot Axes post, I don't want to, read off it word for word, but we'll put it on the screen so you can see it there. Essentially what the post says is that the direction that they took with the Kog'Maw rework was something that wasn't that successful, and overall the design that they went with the rework was something that they weren't really satisfied with, and they actually were still satisfied with the pre-rework version of Kog'Maw, and so they're just going to revert his W to pretty much what it was exactly before the rework. And it doesn't actually say this in the post, but we do have confirmation from Riot Scarzard that his Q is also going to be reverted to the pre-rework form. So it's going to be the Q and W that are changing. E and Ultimate are pretty much going to get no changes most likely, and this is going to be coming in patch 6.19. Now, this is the first time, I believe, ever that Riot has essentially just reversed a rework. They've unreworked Kog'Maw, or they're going to unrework Kog'Maw, which is honestly crazy to think about. And it's really interesting to see how Riot is starting to have like a little bit more of a liberal attitude in terms of like admitting their mistakes and being willing to go back on changes. And I think this kind of thing, the fact that Riot's doing this in the first place is great. The fact that they're willing to make these kinds of decisions where they just basically flat out admit like, hey, we were wrong, we made a mistake, like we're just going to go back on it and that's how it's going to be. I think that's really interesting, and it says a lot of good things about the future for Riot's design philosophies. Like, this is a very, very new sort of philosophy that Riot has not had in the past. In the past, they've never been willing to admit their mistakes. They've never been willing to go back on things, and it's something that we've started to see a tiny bit of this year, but now we finally see this huge thing, which is really cool, and it's interesting to see what's going to happen with Kog'Maw, honestly, and especially for you guys out there that are Kog'Maw mains, it's very interesting to see that this kind of change is really happening to the champion. And so essentially in terms of like the design philosophies and why they're doing this is essentially the Kog'Maw rework wasn't really doing what they wanted him to do. With Kog'Maw, they really like the idea of like this protect the Kog'Maw sort of team composition where your entire team works together to just protect this immobile, squishy sort of character that just does a ridiculous amount of DPS. And they wanted Kog'Maw's design to really facilitate that sort of design or that sort of team comp of protect the Kog'Maw comps. But the thing is that actually doesn't work when he has to stand still in order to deal a lot of damage, which is, what rework Kog'Maw kind of does. He pops his W, he has to stand still to do a bunch of damage, and if he moves around, he gives up his DPS, and that creates quite a few problems for Kog'Maw in teamfights especially, and it most notably creates a lot of design problems for him at the pro level. So the pre-rework version of Kog'Maw, he can move with the fight. He's not super mobile, but he doesn't lose DPS from moving around. He can still kite effectively, and as a result, supportive buffs like stuff like Lulu's W, Karma's shield, really help him kite a lot more, do a lot more in the fight, and overall the Rioters have said that they're actually quite happy that they are going through with these changes. It sounds like they had a very big discussion on it. It took a lot of convincing, but they do say that they're very happy that they are finally going through with these changes. So it seems like it's something that they've been thinking about for a really long time, actually. And they also did say that they do like the reworked Kog'Maw ideas, but the thing is that the design and the playstyle of it wasn't really that fit for Kog'Maw in specific, because it doesn't exactly work when you slap it onto something where you want to put a protect the Kog'Maw composition on when you have the entire team protecting them. So the thing is that we might actually see the post-reworked version of Kog'Maw come back in the future on a different champion, more likely a newer champion. It's something that could definitely come back into the game in the future, but it's definitely not likely that we'll see it for a while. And overall, I think it's actually a very crazy decision that they're doing this, you know. First off, you have the idea that it's just so insane that Riot is really just admitting to their mistakes just straight up and just completely going back on it. Like, this is something that you just don't see, not even Riot, but just game developers in general do. So that's something that actually says a lot of good things for the future potentially, and it seems like they're trying to take like a little bit more of an open-minded stance to things. You know, I can't say how they're going to make decisions about stuff in the future, but the fact that they even do this in the first place, I would say is something that I'm pretty optimistic about. And on the other hand, you have, of course, the actual changes. Now, Kog'Maw's rework is something that I always thought was kind of cool. You know, it's a very like unique approach to an AD carry champion, but you have to admit that the playstyle is kind of like clunky and sort of counterintuitive. And especially when it comes to pro play, you know, the team fights are just so high level that you really just have to be able to move with the fights to be able to just participate in the first place, right? And standing still to deal extra damage or to deal your maximum amount of damage or whatever was just not an optimal gameplay pattern, and then as a result, protect the Kog'Maw comps are something that just didn't really work unless Kog'Maw was super broken, right? Like after the Kog'Maw rework, Kog'Maw only really got played when he was in a state of balance that he was super OP, but before the rework, you know, even if he wasn't super OP, he was still getting some comps built around him and had a lot of options. And overall, I think the fact that they're doing this is a pretty interesting change, and it should mean a lot of good things for Kog'Maw at the pro level for sure. When it comes to solo queue, it's a little bit trickier because his overall DPS is probably going down, and it also looks like overall this change is going to probably be a nerf, I would say, just on the face of things, but it's something that I'm definitely excited for, and I think just the fact that this is happening is really cool, and it's something that I totally just didn't expect at all, not even for like 10 years from Riot. So this kind of thing is just super cool to see, and more importantly, I'm really excited for what this might mean for Riot's philosophies in the future, because this is a very big change in philosophy just in general. I'm not particularly too big on playing Kog'Maw by myself, so I'm not entirely sure. You know, these changes don't affect me personally all that much because I never really played. AD carry is like my least favorite role personally, so it's not, you know, the most popular role, the most frequent role that I play in game. But for those of you Kog'Maw mains out there, you know, hopefully you guys can be excited about this. I really hope it's something that Kog'Maw mains are excited about. Overall though, I mean, what do you guys think about this idea that's going to happen? You know, what do you guys think about these changes? What it's going to mean for the future? And it's coming pretty soon actually, patch 6.19, so I'm definitely excited for it. Either way, looks like that's gonna be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.